This is episode 130 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dion Morales, and today I'm joined by Marcel, always let the Wookiee win, Manzano.
I didn't let him win the last time, and I lost the hand. So, learn my lesson.
That's right. And Will, he should have let the Wookiee win, Hagewood.
What's up, everybody?
And our special guest today is Stephan Rathos Kim.
Hello.
All right. Yeah, I didn't say it, Marcel. You're right. Okay? I want to respect our guest. Marcel's been trolling people in our notes. Anyway, so before we go into anything, we have our announcement section. The St. Louis Grand Championships are this weekend, everybody. The event is running the 8th, 9th, and 10th. So we have a Day 1A, a Day 1B, and, of course, Day 2 happening on Sunday. I will be there on Saturday and Sunday live streaming. And on Saturday, I'm going to be joined by Matt Carey. If you guys don't know that name, he's an awesome player out of St. Louis. On Saturday for commentary, he's going to be playing on the Friday. And there are still spots available. You can go to warfareweekend.com to get signed up, or you probably can just get signed up in person. They want people in the tournament, so come on down. It's probably going to be your easiest opportunity to I mean, maybe, I don't know, there's some pretty good players who are coming down to get it, but that's probably one of the smaller events, Grand Championships, are going to be happening. Here's your chance to get yourself one of those Worlds invite for 2020. That way, for the rest of your season, you just get to hang out and chill. Super easy. And then
Say it'll be one of the easiest to get the prizes.
That's
very
true.
Few prizes at Grands, but all the faction prizes and all of that. It's basically participation prizes more than faction prizes, which is good. But it's never easy to win it.
That's true.
Yeah,
Will, do you guys remember what's the cut for the prizes, the not participation prize for each day?
It's top 2 each day for each faction gets a damage deck.
Okay.
Top 4 for each day gets some other faction prize. There's a top 16 faction card. I know I got Dutch last time for the Rebels, and those are the ones before you start getting to the cut. Then they got top 16. There's the very cool double-sided plastic, and it kind of sticks out. The Vader one side, Luke Skywalker on the other. Top 8 is you get the jam tokens, the clear jam tokens. Top 4 is the invitation, and I think just the invitation. And then the top 2 get templates tray. Yeah, template tray, I think, or something like that.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So, yeah.
Oh, and top of each faction each day, I think, might get a special something. I think it's
a little something.
I think they get a template tray as well.
Maybe.
Something like that.
Don't quote him on that.
Yeah, quote me on it, and then or don't quote me, just remember it, and then go fight the organizer for it.
Don't do that. Warfare Weekend doesn't know. They're just getting handed a box and running a tournament. Marcel trying to cause trouble over here. Quick Patreon update. All gifts have been shipped for all levels that receive items except for the frosted plastic cards. I did make a post about it, the fact that those were delayed due to, we'll just say, some incidents with the company that produces it. Just waiting. Supposedly, they're supposed to be shipping to me, finally, on the 8th. And then we'll make sure to get all those out for you. But the regular cards are done, and I actually already started receiving the stuff for the next wave, which I want to reveal. But I don't want to do that until everybody has their swag for the other things. Also, if you ordered T-shirts as part of our World sale, we had a Patreon World sale, and then we just ran off. We had the extra Team USA shirts, extra older Gold Squadron podcast shirts. They all sold out. Those all shipped. There's some people I did have to refund because due to an inventory error, we sold some things that we didn't have. So y'all got your money back. We did that. But those are going to be in the mail tomorrow because they're all packed up and ready to go in my car. So, yeah, let's go ahead and jump into our main segment here. We're going to be talking about community tools made by people in the community. And Ratho, so let's talk with you. First, who are you and what do you do?
Okay, so I'm Stephan. I'm primarily known for keeping D Yoon in check, Fly Better podcast, but occasionally on the side, I also manage the YASB 2.0 website.
Okay, so now I have some questions about it, and then we're going to kind of just jump into it, and then we have another topic we're going to hit here. So for anybody who doesn't know, right, so you didn't, like, invent YASB. Like, it was run by somebody else. So my question here is, how did it go from being, like, Jordan, right, was his name, right? Jordan running it, and then thank God it got revived for 2.0 because it is my favorite squad builder. Okay, it's the best. It just really is in my humble opinion. Like how did that happen? How did that come up? Like, oh, I'm gonna take over. What happened there?
So okay, so I'll give you the background, and then I'll give you the real story of like why I'm now in charge of this thing.
Okay.
I guess back to I think 6 months or however many months before 2.0 launched and 1.0 was there. I think at this point, FFG was announcing 2.0 and then saying that there was going to be a squad builder, official squad builder. And at that point, we got the news that basically every 1.0 community person that had been managing some part of the either the online or software related stuff was basically retiring. It's like, okay, FFG's got things handled. We can all just ride off into the sunset and, take away our responsibilities. This is great. Wonderful.
Right.
And so it seemed like, we were just going to roll into it. But as we got closer and closer to the launch date, we got rumblings of what the thing was going to look like. And I kind of started to get nervous. And I was like, it was as we were getting up to close to the launch. And I was thinking to myself, I really want the squad builder. Like, I want YASB updated for 2.0 for myself because I needed this thing to exist so that I could continue to build lists. And it didn't seem like anybody, clearly nobody from the community side was interested in doing it, or they would have mentioned something. Everyone was retiring, so I was like, okay, well, since nobody's going to do it, I might as well just build it for myself and see what happens. And then at the time, there was so many things being spoiled when it happened that I was thinking, oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this by myself in a reasonable amount of time. So let's talk to some of the locals in the Toronto area and see if they can help me put this together. Well, the side effect of that is that as soon as I opened it up to other people helping me, I had to share it with them, which then means I started having to share with everybody. Right. And since nobody else had, there was one other builder that was good. There were a couple of builders out there that were really quickly put together, and they were kind of not that great. But there was one builder that was actually had a good UI and was actually effective. That's still listed somewhere. I actually don't remember what it's called, but I'm sure everyone will find it.
Star Tactics.
Yeah.
Got him.
So anyways, I put it out there, and because there was nobody else with a approximate builder, and pretty much for the most part everyone was using either no builder or some really not great builder, except for that one that was good. When I put out the YASB modification, everyone was super excited about this because it was, for the most part, kind of the gold standard for where we start with builders. And I was thinking, even when I put it out, I was thinking, this is going to be a great stopgap. Official builder will launch, we'll start using it, everything will be fine. And that never happened. So I'm still here. I'm still updating it, and it's still the most popular, if not one of the most popular squad builders out there.
I think it is the most popular. I mean, I know I'm probably a little bit biased because of how much I use it. And the biggest thing for me is when they showed the FFG squad builder that there was really no way to quickly import and like create them and export them for streamers. Like that just didn't exist anywhere. It was like Yasby was the thing that made it work for people like myself, and it's just like when you took over, I was just like, oh, thank God this thing is still here. And like the biggest issue I have, and you know, we could take a little time and rag on the FFG squad builder. We can have some fun here, right? So my biggest issue with it, whether you're on computer or a mobile device, is the fact that it's so clunky, and everything, because it is so graphics based, it takes up so much space. So you're constantly like, you're scrolling, you're doing all this stuff, and it just seems really ineffective. And I know that people who play for the first time, that's probably the first thing they come across. But I've heard a lot of new players come across Yasby and go, wait, this is way faster.
Yeah, and so there's a couple things. I mean, so Yasby is a template that was built in like 2012.
Right.
It's not a new design, and arguably, Launchbay Next is actually a better UI format, especially for mobile. But people are so used to Yasby now because it was so good, and it, like I said, it set the standard that like a lot of people don't transition over to like new stuff. And FFG's app wasn't even up to the 2012 standard. Right. So that was kind of the problem. They had actually kind of like the concept of their UI, but they never optimized it for mobile devices or desktop for that matter. Like they had a kind of a design, and they kind of built within that space without thinking about how the user experience was going to manage that.
Right. They built with the graphic design first rather than the functionality, it seemed.
Sure. Well, or they never went back to the UI afterwards, because I think that if somebody had actually opened up and used the app for 15 minutes, they would have found or at least the major glaring issues with the app, and then been able to make some changes. But I don't think it never went past the initial. And obviously, I'm speculating here. I don't actually know what was happening for the development process and what they did and who did what. But I suspect that it was a matter of them not actually having enough time to QA the experience before it launching, and then being able to fix some of those like fundamental issues. Like I'll give you a really good example. As I was preparing, there's a really funny picture of me trying to work the FFG app the day before Worlds, as I'm trying to make sure that my list is legal, like officially in the app.
Of course.
And I spent 4 or 5 attempts accidentally deleting my list. The back button in the top left-hand corner, for everybody who uses anything, it's either like go back to the previous menu, or if it does send you to the main menu, it's there's a prompt. Do you want to do this?
Are you sure?
Are you sure? And neither of those things existed. So you would intuitively want to press back and then just go go back to the main menu, and it doesn't save anything, or it doesn't return you to any place that you were before. It's frustrating. And then also the login system is broken, so that if you logged in previously and you didn't log in for a long time, it thinks that you're still logged in, even though the credentials have expired for some time. And it doesn't try to make you log in. It doesn't check the credentials before you log in. So that you go to save a list, you think you're good, and then it doesn't save. And people are like, what's going on? Well, the reason is because you never logged in, and it never prompted you to log in. So you assumed you were fine, but you were not. Right?
Wrecked. Technology wrecked.
And this is just like the overarching theme here is that these are things that people would have very quickly seen if they had spent time testing it before giving it out, right? Or having these things, like there's very glaring things, like within 5 minutes, you can identify 5 or 6 things that are just not good in how it's designed. And I don't know, I don't know the developers that they're using and what their timelines are and how quickly they're able to turn around stuff like that. But I know internally, like not just working on Yasby, but even with my own company and the things that we're doing in mobile space and video game development, some of these things are really easy to fix, right?
Okay.
They don't take a lot of time, or at least from my perspective, they don't take a lot of time and effort to manage.
Right.
And I mean, a good example of that is I've been working low key over the last couple of weeks on updating Yasby for Epic. People are typing and mad about that, right? And the Epic stuff, there was I would say it's not a significant, like it's not as much as people might think, but it also wasn't an insignificant amount of work. Like you had to add more stuff. There are no restrictions. We needed to figure out a way to manage the new command slots and how they work. And that part actually happened right at the end, right? Because that's when we found out about those.
Right.
But I mean, we got Epic up in 7 hours, 8 hours after the things went live, and that's mostly because I didn't know that they had gone live.
Right.
At the points. So I think that and again, what I'm doing is I'm testing it to make sure that it works, or testing it as much as possible to see that it works, and then giving it to the public and they break it. But what you don't see often is something super glaring that's really obvious, like italics in the title not showing up as a part of the card title.
Right.
Like these are pretty big obvious errors that are not being QA'd, at least from the developer side, I think.
And so I guess it's a good opportunity to say, so your background is in programming, and you said you have a company with does video games or something like that.
Well, okay. Well,
give us the cliff notes. The cliff notes how do you have all these skills?
Yeah, the cliff notes is 3 years ago I started my own video game indie studio.
Yeah,
and I've been doing that since actually about the same time that I started playing is when I started the indie studio.
Cool.
And so software development is something that I do a lot of now, or at least, I mean, a lot less, well, not a lot less, but somewhat less now because I'm more, we've got several projects and we're trying to manage stuff, but that's kind of what we spent a lot of time doing for the last 3 years.
Cool, man. Well, man,
I find the answer vague and unconvincing.
I think Marcel wants you to say. Can you say the name of the company? Do you have anything out right now? Let's plug away, man. I don't care.
No, I mean,
plug your game. I've got a Steam set up.
Yeah. Well, so the company is Crystallized Games. The game is Relic Raiders that we've been working on for the last 3 years. But I'm not plugging it because we kind of have, as a company, shifted away from the active development. In order to make that game successful in the way that we want, we need to raise a crap ton more money than we actually have. Mm-hmm. So while we're low-key trying to figure that out, we're working on other things. Right now, I'm working on a mobile game for a client who is fairly influential. And we're really excited about this project. It's going to be really cool. And once it starts rolling, then I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people in this space who be really excited about that too. Cool. So.
That sounds like fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is awesome. I have zero experience with programming or anything like that. Just something that's never came up in my life. So when you redid Yasby, it was like magic for me because I don't understand it. I just don't get it. And I want to take the opportunity because most people don't know that there is a hidden donate button on Yasby. And here's my opportunity in front of Raytheos to mention it. So we're gonna cut here, okay? So if you go to the About section, okay, which nobody ever actually clicks on, you go ahead. There's the donate button. It'll take you to PayPal, and you can do the thing. Just throw the guy a couple bucks. This is me. This is just me saying it. I know I've made a donation. I love Yasby. It is my #1 place for list building. It was actually really funny, Stephen. I was trying to record a video. I think this is a couple months ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to record a video on the best list builders, or how to use certain list builders.
Mm-hmm.
And within this 2-week span that I was writing the script, you were changing all this stuff. And I was
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, all right, so where are the pros and cons? Here are these cons, and there's things that might need to be cleaned up. And it was like all the things started getting cleaned up. I was like, well, there's the script of my video. It's just gone. It was great. It was fantastic. So right now it's one of my scripts that is like has a little tab on it and like visit later, you know, after Epic, because then it was like, oh, we could talk about the fact that you're like, oh, maybe Epic will show up, like a speculation. It starts up there already. So thanks for ruining my videos, I guess is what I'm saying. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
I aim to please. I aim to please. I'll actually also I'll throw one tip in that I think a lot of people don't realize that Gatsby has. Is that because people always like, at least one of the big criticisms of Gatsby, like because it's like a 2002 template, is that like, oh, you know, it has, if you have like a lot of pilots or upgrades and whatever, you have to scroll, you have to use the drop down to find that stuff. But did you know you can actually just type in?
I know. Do people not know that? Oh my God, guys, you can just type.
Yeah.
Oh, well, if they watch this show, they know. But if they're listening at home, yeah, you could just type. It's so easy. That's how, when I'm doing lists for the streams, guys, that's the only reason why it's fast, is because you can type it. Yeah. And the thing is, you can do like the middle of the word. Like there's certain pilots, like of course off the top of my head I can't think of it, but like that I don't use the first letter. I use like middle letters, and it just pops up. Press enter. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
As long as you, I mean, it's really good for just filtering stuff too. Because if you don't remember what something is, or you don't know where it is in the list, right? And you can just be like, oh, wedge, just W, and it comes up, right? Or X-wing. Like it's actually really useful now because we transitioned. It used to be that we used the 1.0 naming for the ships, right? So it was X-wing, Y-wing, A-wing, and now that they've gone 2.0 transitioned everything over to the official ship names, which has a lot of random crap in front and at the end, and everything is sorted in like a weird way now, so you can't necessarily scroll to find stuff. And most people will default to, okay, I'm looking for the icon of the ship that I want, that I know, but you can also just type in X-wing or even X or Y, and then it'll just pop up immediately.
Absolutely. And sometimes like you got to be careful looking just for icons, because sometimes the icons aren't updated because they haven't been made yet, like the glyphs or whatever like that. Like just type, guys. It's so easy. It's so easy. Now, a couple of other questions about it. What is maybe a feature that you wish that you could implement into Gatsby, but maybe it's too time consuming? Again, my reference for programming, no clue, no idea. But maybe something is just like, it's either like too big of a hill to climb, too much time. Is there anything you can come off from the top of your head?
Well, I don't know if this is too complicated. It's more that I just haven't got around to really investing the time into it yet.
I mean, especially if you do it for free. So I get it. Yeah,
but I mean also just because, and part of the reason why I haven't spent the time to doing it is because we have, so the thing is that an app for mobile, dedicated app for mobile, that's Gatsby. I know a lot of people have asked and will continue to ask for it. And
Gumbo's in the chat if you want to add the Gatsby app. Go. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
The main reason why I haven't done it is because I think that the Launch Bay Next does a very good job already of providing a dedicated app. But I know a lot of people want it, so I still want to do it. I just haven't got around to, because the priority levels are not as high, as opposed to things are coming out, other things are happening. I still want to, well, not want to, but I really should update all the background images for all the new ships that have recently come in. Same thing for Epic ships. Like there's a bunch of stuff in there that I want to do, even including to the point of like standardizing the additions that the ships have so that people can read them better. Like there's a lot of like little UI improvements that I've been making, and also Patrick, one of the other main contributors to Gatsby, have been making to the thing, and also the card browser. So we have a really robust card browser. So let's say you're not trying to build a list, but you just want to have references to like specific things. There's a search that you can find. Oh, you know, all of the cards that say after you perform a complete maneuver, that allow you to find, you know, a ton of stuff that's really, really useful, and the search parameters are very robust. That's something that actually Patrick spent a lot of time putting together. It's very, very effective. Probably not a lot of people are aware of it even. and I want to actually one of the other things that I wanted to do, and this is probably more realistic than the standalone app, just in terms of time commitment. But
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do the same thing that we have for the card search for rules. So
Ah.
like a searchable rules reference, because the PDF for the rules is like, I think that's an opportunity that like is not being fulfilled, is like having a quick reference for the rules, be able to quickly like go and search a rules term and have the whole thing, the term come up, so that you can just kind of like look at it and be like, oh, that's how that works, right?
Right.
And because like sometimes you just don't know what a game term means, or like you just forget how it works.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, so actually somebody had a good question here on chat for you, Stephen. It was if you have you guys ever thought about adding FFG rulings to some of the cards or some of the script, some of the text?
I've actually had a discussion with this with Patrick. I feel that outside of errata, which is like obviously changing the card text, and that's like very valuable to know what the actual text is, I don't really want to do that, mainly because that's potentially a lot of upkeep, especially when you're talking about things that the way that Yasby is kind of listed in is that a lot of stuff is hard coded. So if I, for example, had a rules reference change that it was related to, the ion thing, for example, right? And so you have the ion control stuff and how that's changed the ion rules and how that interacts with a whole bunch of things. Well, now the interactions, things that used to work no longer work. So, for example, BB-8 with Poe before this ion ruling was fine, but now it's not. And to know what all the subtle interactions are, and then be able to making the case for like how they work or not work, and be able to have to update that on a regular basis, seems like more work than it's worth.
Yeah, I agree. That seems like a nightmare.
I mean, I could be wrong too, right? And maybe there's a way to like manage all those unintended interactions and make sure that they do kind of figure their way out. But the way that I feel about it is like, I would rather give people a rules reference so that they can quickly access the rules and make those decisions on their own, rather than try to like build that into the builder itself. And the other thing too is that like, I'm trying to keep to the spirit of the original builder, which was to be kind of lean and efficient and kind of laser focused on one main thing, which is the list building. And so I actually push against feature creep all the time, because I'm like, well, okay, we got to make sure that this thing is still the thing that it does. And all the other stuff that, we add on, because there's a bunch of stuff that has been added on, copy and paste for Reddit and for FFG links and all that stuff. And a ton of new features that have been put into the builder, but all of that is not on the main screen. All of that is like either in a pop-up or side stuff, or for example, the browser, that's completely different page within the space. So the core experience, like, I kind of want to keep the same, because I want it to be as simple and straightforward as possible.
Yeah, and that's my favorite thing about it, to be completely honest. It's just that it's just open page, build list. You don't have to fuss around with anything. If you want to log in, and that's like one thing I really enjoy about it, is the fact that if you want to log in and save things and do a collection, you have that all set up in there, but you don't have to. You could just on a whim open up a tab and go to your heart's content.
And then also like switch between the factions, which I think is like maybe the best feature. Like low key is that like you can pick a faction, build it, switch to another faction, build something comparatively, and then switch it back and forth.
Yep.
And kind of see how you feel about that.
Right now on my personal Yasby link that I have like open on my window, I have like a list in every single faction, because I don't know what I want to fly tomorrow for League. So I love it. By any chance, this is just me being curious, is there any way, do you have any data on like how many like pings Yasby has or has had over time? Like, is that a number you could come up with?
On it, I think. I checked. You've got analytics and something else on it.
Yeah, so we have basic Google Analytics, like super basic. We recently, even in order to comply with the recent European union rulings on like on keeping data. We even though there wasn't any personal data being maintained, we wanted to make sure that there was absolutely no chance of any personal data being stored. So we've scaled, we've pulled back on some of the analytics grabbing. But I mean, I know how many unique visitors we have roughly a month. I know roughly our traffic numbers and like our trend. What's more important to me is not necessarily the raw numbers, but the trends that occur and in line with major events. So like seeing the numbers creep up leading up to Worlds, you know, because people are more active, and also like the lull that happens in list building like 2 or 3 weeks before a new expansion hits.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Right? Like, because like you kind of can build narratives like looking at the analytics is one of the things that, like, you know, I spent a lot of time thinking about, just not just in this but professionally. And so yeah, you get these trends where it expansion hits, there's a huge explosion of people like looking for stuff, and that'll taper off, and then internally, even week to week, like you'll see like different days are stronger than other days because people are building for the weekend tournament or whatever. And then so you can like kind of like, you know, build stories off of that, like looking at what people are doing. To answer your question specifically, I'd say on a slow day or like a slow month, let's say it's like the month before the new expansion hits, and like people have figured out the meta and the meta's kind of stale, you'll see between like 2,000 to 3,000 unique visits, right? And that's like I don't necessarily know if that's the 2,000 3,000 in terms of community, but actual like physical visits that are unique IPs to the site,
right?
And then
so for a super layman person, that means if I have 5 computers in my house and I visited Yasby on each one, is that it's considered a unique visitor?
Yeah, each one is considered a unique visitor. Right. So like maybe it's being doubled up because, you know, I've got it on my phone and I've got it on my desktop, or even tripled up. But then there's a lot of people who just look it on their phone, or they only look it on PC. Right. I'll tell you an interesting statistic is that half of the population uses it on mobile and half of it uses on PC.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. It's much higher, and that's why the app is like something that I can't ignore, because literally half the user base is using it on mobile, right?
Huh.
So, but I mean, are you thinking like an actual app, or just something like a progressive web app?
App. Well,
an actual app.
An actual app. But I mean, it would have to be kind of dependent on what is the least amount of work to get it to do exactly what we want it to do.
Yeah, because I figure a progressive web app, you just update one piece of code, and for the most part, it works on both. Right.
Well, here's the thing that is kind of the roadblock that's actually to stop me from just like converting it, like in the same way that FFG's app was. It just basically takes a website and then puts it into an app box.
Right.
The main issue is that if I made an app, I would want it to be able to sync with the database for your save lists, and then while you're offline, save them and then upload them when you get an internet connection.
Oh,
right. That's something that I would like. Something that would be a feature that would be super valuable. It would provide value to the app, right? Because then you actually, you know, you can sync it. You would sync it in with your existing list. It would upload everything. It would download everything, and then so you can modify and have basically the same experience. Otherwise, there's not really any point in having an app. You know what I mean? So it would have to do that first, and then I would have to, and so I would have to think of a way to. I'm not that I couldn't, but like I would have to actually spend the mental time to think about, okay, what's the best way we'd want to do this, and then do it, right?
That's really cool, man. Again, it all sounds like magic to me. That's really neat. I love it. All right, so we're gonna go into our next topic. Before we do that, Stephen, is there anything you want to plug, talk about, things in your world that the X-Wing community needs to know about?
Yeah, there's one thing I have to talk about. Otherwise, I will probably be killed in my sleep. So
no, you'll just probably get kicked out of Canada. That's it.
I don't want that either. The healthcare is excellent.
Not a political show. We're moving on. Continue.
Rub it in.
Carry on.
So, anyways, PTL Open, which is the Toronto community, which is where I live, they are having their big tournament November 23rd, 24th, which is not long from now. It's pretty close, actually. And it's probably, I think, one of the fun events that, from a kind of design perspective of like how you structure an event. PTL's always had a history of like creating like really weird, funky formats that are a lot of fun for people.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing like Aces High style furballs, maybe a year before we saw that FFG had created one. And we pride ourselves on creating weird, funky metas because people are trying out all sorts of like funny stuff. I think this is the same rules, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that you'll actually. So what happened last year was you could bring up to 3 lists, one from each faction.
Okay.
And if you did, you would basically, it's kind of like in a hangar bay, you have the choice to fly each list as you go into it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to. You could just bring one list and fly that the whole weekend. But if you played every single list at least once in the tournament, you would get an extra win.
Oh, that's cool.
So it would affect your stand. So you're incentivized to play different stuff. And if you're playing 6 games and you have to play 3 of them, has to be like a variety of lists. That's gonna really change the field of like what you can fly against, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
So it kind of prevents people from only bringing meta lists, because there could be lots of random stuff. If you only bring the one list and I bring 3 lists and one of them is a direct counter to that meta list, then you kind of stuck and you're going to lose that match.
Right.
Right.
Oh yeah. That's
so if
cool.
You want to fly meta, if you're trying to be a tryhard and trying to win super hard, well, you can't just narrowly focus. You have to diversify, and diversification is what makes this game fun. Like
Right.
Not necessarily like competitive, but fun. And so that's kind of been the focus of the PTL and like all the events that we run. Not to mention, like we're gonna have like pretty cool prizes. Like one of the things that I do other than the Yasby is that like I help design some of the cards for PTL, and so I'm gonna show one of them on stream. And so that's what we actually took this to Worlds and showed a couple people.
That's fancy.
But I think that's it's a foil advanced optics, and so I think that we're gonna have some great prizes there. I know that the organizer Devin, he's really good at trying to get good prizes. He spent the whole time at Worlds trying to get prizes for PTL Open from Worlds.
Yeah.
So he's getting a bunch of stuff from a whole bunch of people, and so I think it'll be a great event. And if anyone is kind of in the area, like either Northeast US or Canada, and you have an opportunity to come to this event, you should really try it out because it's really, really good. And tickets can be found at flycasual.ca.
There you go. Get it done. If you're going to be in the area, head on over.
Mm-hmm.
So our other topic for today is one of our weekly questions that I threw out there this week was, what is your favorite faction and why? A lot of people have different reasons why they pick a faction. There is no wrong answer. So we're going to go ahead and we'll start with Will, because we haven't heard from Will yet today. Or we heard a little bit of Will, but I need more Will in my life. Always need more Will in my life. No worries, man. It's just the truth. That's all I do. So, Will, what's your favorite faction? Why? And does it ever affect your list choices when going into major events?
I would say my favorite faction right now has got to be the Separatist. The droid swarms. There's just something satisfying to me about flying 6 terrible ships and just watching them just succeed. It's very entertaining to me. But I'm like that kind of like tight formations. I like when in this like those big scrums where it's like, well, I got to plan out, like, well, how do I solve this puzzle, right? How do I get all these arcs facing the correct way without screwing it all up. And it does. It actually would affect my major event choices, but it does so negatively that I've been betrayed by the vultures too many times now. Too many double blanks, or yeah. Every time someone's like, "Well, there's 4 hits onto your vulture. I hope I don't roll a blank, because then that vulture doesn't exist anymore." So while I actually wanted to fly the Separatist at Worlds to get faction prizes and stuff,
Right.
I didn't end up doing that because I just, unfortunately, their consistency is off for me. Though they're still my favorite, still like what I like to fly.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say casually, but it's the play style that I enjoy.
Very cool. Very cool. What about you, Will? I'm sorry.
Tell us again, Will.
Tell us again, Will.
Marcel.
All right. Well,
sorry, I was looking at Marcel's. I was looking at Will's face. I'm sorry, Marcel. What's your favorite faction? Why? And does it or has it affected your list choices for major events?
My favorite faction is, it's I'd probably say it's still Scum. Even though lately I've been having a lot more fun with different lists.
Okay.
Rebels specifically, I've been having the most fun, I think, with Rebels. Rebel A-Wings to be precise. I'm just really enjoying playing Rebel A-Wings casually. But it's still, I would say it's still Scum, because I like the idea of putting together things like static discharge, putting together just a lot of different shenanigans, and being able to come up with different unique combinations that catch people off guard. But I think these days you can pretty much do that with the majority of the lists. You can do that definitely with Republic has that ability to do that. Separatist, all of them have some kind of shenanigans to them now, or the ability to build some shenanigans. Maybe the ones that don't are the First Order. First Order is still pretty straightforward. You've only got 4 chassis, and they're pretty straightforward. You can't really do any good tricks with them. But yeah, I think I'd say it's still the Scum. And has it affected the way I build my lists for competitive events? I'd say yes, they have, because I always put together a Scum list, then I think about it for a second, and I throw that Scum list out the window and build something new. So it takes me like an extra 5 minutes to build something that it's eventually going to get tossed out the window anyway. Not to say that there isn't any good Scum lists. I mean, Boba with Guri is good. Boba with Fen is good. I think the YT 1300s are still very good price for, the cost is good. I mean, 40 something points for an 11 health ship with some of the abilities, whether it's Han Solo at initiative 6 or Lando with the ability to reroll. I mean, they've got good efficiency, good cost efficiency, but ultimately there's not enough support there to be able to build that unless you've got the the Torkel plus 4 or 5 different stuff, which I don't particularly enjoy flying that type. I like the shenanigans other type. And of course you've got the different Ketsu builds, Ketsu plus XYZ to do some pretty nasty offense. Those are fun, but I've never felt comfortable enough with them to take them to a tournament. I think they've I just don't feel comfortable with them. So yeah, I don't know. That's basically it.
And what about you, Stephen?
Well, for my favorite faction is Resistance. I pretty much exclusively flown Resistance in 2.0, except for when it didn't exist because right at the early beginning when it was just Rebel, Empire, Scum.
Right.
The reasoning has very little to do with X-Wing as a game. I just really like the T-70. Like, I just really love that ship, the way it looks, the way that the S-foils open and close, like the half circle, that port thing with that. I don't actually know what it does. It's clearly not an intake valve because they don't need air to run their engines. They're turbines, and they're not even turbines. But
just looks cool, right?
It looks cool. The ship looks cool. The ship looks like an X-wing. What you took an X-wing and then you turned it into a sports car. That's what it looks like. And I like that ship so much that I just want to fly that ship in events. And so I don't have the motivation to try to win X-wing as like I need to win all the events. Like I don't need to pick the most destructive list and then bring it to events and crush everyone. My goal is to perform well with the ship that I love. So that's why I keep bringing that to events. Even if, even at Worlds this year, I was the first to admit that like this is not going to be the best. This is not going to win me Worlds probably, despite the cool tech that I came up with, or not came up that I had hand delivered to me.
Right.
But I mean, I love flying the ship, so I will fly it and try to win with it. And if I don't win, that doesn't matter to me because I'm trying to fly well with the things that I love.
Awesome. So for myself, I feel for the last few months, because I haven't seriously been playing, like I've been all about content and streaming for you guys. Like I've been a little bit of a faction crisis. So like earlier, Stephen, I was telling you that I have like a list in every faction right now built in my personal Yasby tab, and that's because I don't know what I want to fly. Like I'm constantly in this thing of I don't know what faction is my favorite. Like I would say that I am probably like in my heart it's probably Scum leaning, and that just really has to go with the fact that that was what I basically started playing with when I was competitive, right? We played, of course, the Jump Masters. We had the Lancers with the Fang Fighters and all that. But like right now, even for like tonight, like after we're done with the podcast, I need to build my list for League tomorrow, and I have no idea what I want to do. Like no clue. So right now, I would say because I don't have like a strong pull to any faction overall in the game, like I'm kind of, I can't really say when it comes to competitive events because I'm not preparing for them. Like most of my playing is research so that I understand how things work. But even in that, I struggle with choosing what I want to fly. I would say the faction that I've flown the least is actually the Republic. And I'm very, I'm going to say Jedi curious because I have not flown. I flew the Jedi one time, but because people like so we had a 1 week where we had Marcel, Nate, John. There was like 5 or 6 people flying Republic, and then I had like Republic and something else, and I was like, well, I'll just fly the something else so that for our stream we don't have just a bunch of Republic on Republic action. But so like that's the faction I think I'm the most curious about, but I think it's mostly just because I haven't played with it. I want to know, but because the content I haven't been able to yet. So that's where I am. One of the things
I got a couple lists for you tomorrow if you're still looking. We'll talk after.
Oh, okay, cool. And I did take a look at our the post that we made, so we'll go ahead and take a peek over there. So, you know, you have a variety of reasons why people say that they like a certain squad. So you got a couple people like, I like Scum because it's scummy. It's somebody saying Empire because the dark side is quick, easier, and more seductive. First Order because SFs are fun to fly. Of course, you got to get your standard memes in there. Roger, Roger, Separatist, because I like to say Roger, Roger. I mean, that seems to be a very strong pool. I mean, Will, do you like to say Roger, Roger while playing? I actually haven't heard you say it.
It hurts me because the vultures don't talk. The vultures don't say Roger, Roger.
They say Roger, Roger in their heart. Will, it's in their heart.
I guess. I mean, I have a little at Star Wars Celebration. I got like the little Lego dudes. When I put those guys out, I do Roger, Roger for like they're like Target locks.
Nice. So just really interesting to see how it affects people in list building and in the competitive scene, because it is a game. People, you have the side of you that is like, all right, I'm trying to optimize so that I can do the best I can, but you have to balance that out with your personal desire and how you want to play the game. All right, we're going to jump into our question of the week. And we got two very specific questions of the week and then lists of the week. So what we're going to do is the questions are for Marcel and then for myself. And then we're going to have Will lead the list of the week with Stephan. That's the plan. All right. So Marcel, you're going to get the first question of the week here. So this comes from Paul Bridge, and he says, I would appreciate it if you could get Marcel to talk about his list, talking about your world's list, Marcel. When I heard he went 7-0 in Swiss, I was intrigued to learn his list. And when I saw it, I was like, wow. Also, please ask him about any matchups versus CIS Swarms or what he would do against it. So, Marcel, start by saying what your list was.
Sure, and I included the link there, right? If you want to throw that up for the people watching,
I'll do that.
And the part that you missed is that he said, "Wow, I can't believe with that," or whatever it was. It was like that is even more impressive. Like,
yeah, I had to scale it down for for the screen.
Actually, that was it's kind of a sleeper. It's and I know Tommy's on chat as well. He's an Anakin Naboo fighter player. I think it's a list that takes people off guard because it looks underwhelming, but it's really not. So it is Obi-Wan on Delta 7 with the Delta 7B title. Has sense because I don't have a huge bid, a 4-point bid, so it's important to see where people are going to be. And then regen. Rick Ali with Daredevil, regen, and advanced sensors. And finally, Anakin in the Naboo fighter with intimidation, regen, collision detector, and advanced proton torpedoes, which is the 5 dice at range 1, one-time use. And it comes in at 196. Really, it's a I think just the fact that it has 3 different regen on ships, that 2 of them have it's a list that's anti-bump, because one of them is Obi-Wan with 3 force, and the other 2 have some type of pre-maneuver positioning with advanced sensors or Anakin's ability, and then all 3 of them with regen. I think that alone depends on how you kit it out, is automatically going to not be a bad list. You can swap out Obi-Wan for Mace Windu. You can, there's a lot of different things you can do with this, and it's still not a bad list. It's just something that requires specific tactics to be able to do well with it. But I tried it out originally, a version of it. I had different loadout at a hyperspace trial in Madison. I missed the cut because my arch nemesis Nick Tobin tabled me on the final round to knock me out of the cut. But I learned some lessons there. The main lesson was I had Mace Windu instead of Obi, is to go with Obi to get that initiative 5, because getting shot by an initiative 5 ship and not being able to do anything with Mace was really what bit me there. And then after that, I took it to another hyperspace trial here in Chicago, went undefeated with it, 9-0. And in that one, I played against two different separatist lists. They are both on YouTube. So you were asking how did I do against separatist swarms? One of them was against William, and the other one was a final against a separatist swarm with bombers. And then at Worlds, I also got to play in the top 32, top 64. I think, yeah, it was a top 64 match. I got to play against a Captain Seer plus seven
Vultures.
vultures, yeah, like that swarm. With diamond with the things that stick on you and then they do damage. Those
The
missiles.
Discord missiles.
Yeah. And on the ones that the and then I also played that on stream at League Night versus Darren Granger and Table Darren on that one before he got his revenge.
So right
So
there. So
those-
Paul has a lot of data out there. That
Yeah,
he
so
can-
there's
he
going to be
can watch.
a total of 4 matches with this list on stream, and all 4 of them were wins. So you can see how I maneuvered them. But basically, the main thing is protect Obi-Wan. So you want to make sure that Obi-Wan doesn't get shot because he's the only one that cannot reposition before moving. And if you dial in something wrong with him, he can really get caught. With Obi-Wan or with Anakin, if you put the wrong dial in, you can barrel roll and then you can go through a rock and just get out of dodge. With Obi-Wan, you can daredevil and then shoot out, or you
mean
can be
Rick,
anywhere you
yeah.
want to be in. Yeah, with Rick, I'm sorry. With Rick, you can be anywhere you want to be. So those 2 ships are always safe against low initiative ships.
Uh-huh.
Obi-Wan is the one that you really need to protect. And alternatively, and here's the blueprint to beat this list, is against high initiative ships, Obi-Wan is still the one that makes it count because Obi-Wan has sense, and he's the one that's going to make everything work. So
Keep it going, Marcel. I gotta go do. I gotta go grab something. Keep going.
all right, well, I was finished, so that was it. I don't know, William. I played against you. I guess as he said, keep it going. You played against it a few times. One of them with the Separatist Swarm, and the other one with the Aces. So you saw the Obi's. You saw what I'm talking about. Obi being the vulnerable one versus low initiative, and then you also saw Obi being the
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I blocked and then tractor boomed your Obi-Wan off of that block, and then he died that round.
Yeah.
So I could see what you mean by
Obi being
he's,
vulnerable.
But see, that's my take on it is that how you flag very well that Obi-Wan's truly I think your support ship out there because he draws aggro because he's kind of like your bait. Because people don't want to chase the Naboos. They want to go after Obi-Wan. He's only got 2 agility, so light him up. But when he's drawing the people over into bad positions. He can get out if he needs to. He can sense. He can block 6s if he needs to. So I always thought of him as like your actual support ship out there. Because without that sense, and sometimes those extra focus tokens out there, you wouldn't. I don't think the list performs.
Yeah, as soon as the Delta 7 is off the board, the list really falls short. And even against Duncan, you can see that. I mean, it was still a really close match that was decided in the last round or two. But at that point, it was really, in my opinion, Duncan making some mistakes that allowed me to get back into the game. But once Obi was gone in my head, I was relying on him to make mistakes because Obi's the one that's gonna be able to keep me having the advantage.
You can watch those games on YouTube. They're up. They're up already.
Channel.
That's right, Gold Squadron Podcast. So, thank you for that, Marcel. Hopefully, Paul, you got the answers you were looking for. The next question comes from Exification on Discord, which, by the way, you can type !Discord in the chat if you want to join. It's basically our big chat room. Anybody is welcome. And if you are a patron, there are some special rooms that you guys can be a part of, so you get a little more focused chat with myself and the crew. But here we go.Xification asked, you mentioned you had bought a couple of games to play with your daughter at Gen Con. Have you had the time to break these out? Can we get a review? I have a child that is becoming pretty voracious with board games. So, yes, we've played them, and I have them right here. That's what I got up to go get. So, we got to remember one thing. My daughter's 3 years old, okay? So, now I would say one of these is a little bit under her level, but she still loves it. And one is, I would say, at or slightly above her level. So, first one is called First Orchard. Okay, sorry, the green screen is doing its thing. First Orchard, super simple game. Roll a dice, you get a color, it's super RNG, and you're just trying to collect all of the fruit before the scarecrow comes and gets all the fruit from your basket. Very, very fun and easy game. Doesn't take a lot of setup. And like all the pieces are wood, which just feels nice. And I think honestly my favorite game that I picked up from the two is this one right here. It's called The Color Monster. Okay, and so the point of the game is you're trying to collect all the colors, and there's a couple of different mechanics in there that allow you to do it. But the gist of the game is that you're talking about your emotions. So if you're at all familiar with the movie Inside Out, it's kind of that premise where each color is an emotion, and when you land on the certain colors, in order to have an attempt to collect the color, you have to talk about what makes you happy or sad or angry, and it just opens up good conversations with kids and their parents or within a family. I really, really liked it, and we've had some fun times, some silly times, and honestly gotten some good insight into how our daughter thinks from playing this game. So, Color Monster, I really like it. That's my quick review on that. Not sponsored yet. All right, list of the week. List of the week. Let's go ahead and pull that up. Make sure I get the right tab. Nope, that's not it. Here it is. Nope, that's not it. Where did it go? Aha. All right, here we go. So the list of the week comes from, oh no, I said it the wrong way. The Whalers on the Moon had asked about the games. Sorry, Whalers on the Moon. This is Xification. This is his list. Will, I'll go ahead and read it down, and you let me know what you think. So this is an Imperial list. You got Darth Vader in the TIE X1 with just fire control system. Merrick Steele in the TIE Advance with just fire control system, and then Rexler Brath naked, 81 points. You are at a total of 198 points out of 200. Will, list of the week. What are we doing here? Are we doing anything? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's clearly a triple ace, high initiative, and both Merrick Steele with his choosing a crit ability and Rexler Brass flipping up crits. You're looking for basically really punishing things with hull. Once you put a couple shots into something, hopefully it's either immobilized because of all the crits, or it's simply just dead because of choosing out some direct hits or things like that. I have a big problem with Merrick Steele without any support. He's got to go out there and take his target lock and just hang out on 3 agility, which is never good. You can bait with Vader and Rexler Brath, I guess, but personally, without support, I don't like him, so I'm dropping him off of the list. I think Rexler Brath's great. Darth Vader's obviously amazing. So keeping those guys in there, real self-sufficient. And I really think that you only have 2 choices here. And it's either you get a Lambda or I would say a Reaper, but let's be real here. It's Major Vermeil to do some helping out, some shooting and stuff. If you do Jendon, hold on, let me check back at you. Yeah, look at Jendon for a second, and then I would just put Krennic on him. It gets you up to the 200 points if you want. Krennic's got a nice ability that works with Extra Breath and Vader, to where you can strip a shield off of people, so you can be a little bit more modifying frugally, I guess, with your Vader. You can keep your focus results with optimized prototype, but that's boring. And I think that I don't think that's what he wants. Obviously, he put an ace in there,
Right.
so I'm gonna put an ace in there too, but my ace is gonna be a little weird. It's gonna be Major Vendor.
Ah.
Let me see how far you got. Yeah, Major Vendor. Major Vendor with the obviously advanced slam. He needs it. It's his whole shtick. And then I'm gonna have so when you reach for the title with Vendor, I'm actually gonna go for
advanced slam is a talent.
No, it's modification.
Modification.
It's a module. Yeah, modification there.
Got it.
All right, in the configuration, I will say, a little tip. I think it would be cool, but I understand that I might bog it down. I would like a little symbol next to the slots. I guess it does when you put things in it, doesn't it? See, already ahead of me. But anyways, configuration.
I'm in your head.
I know, right? I didn't realize that it does pop up when you put it in. It's not in the drop-down box, though. Already ahead of me. Anyways, I don't use the PC version too much, so I'm normally squinting at my phone. But anyways, assault configuration. It adds a cannon slot. Okay, because we're actually not going to bring any missiles with this. We're going to bring an ion cannon.
Oh, okay.
So Vendor, I like Vendor as the third ace here. He's tanky. He can take shots. He can run away if you need him to disengage. And he shoots a 3-dice gun, and it might ionize people. That's a shame for Vader and Rexler if they know what you're doing.
Right.
And I honestly though, this is a personal change I would do on it, is that I don't like fire control system. I like passive sensors. It's so good. I don't know if I can describe passive sensors, and I could do a whole podcast about passive sensors, Vader. But
Episode 131.
But it's super good in a nutshell. It makes it so that people can outbid you and you don't care.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for that, Will. All right, Stephen, as our guest, you get a fresh version of Exification's list. You're allowed to. You can change up to one ship. What would you do if somebody said, "Help me with this list"? What changes would you make? What do you think?
It's actually kind of funny because I was just talking to a friend who is just getting into the game about the TIE Defender and that it's really good. It's kind of expensive, but it's like a crazy chassis. I kind of have the same feelings about Merrick Steel. I don't think that he's good in this particular configuration because he's too likely to get popped and never is going to really have an opportunity to get a target lock to take advantage of his chassis, or the FCS. So I would drop him as well. But what I would want to do is, instead of adding another ace, I'd actually want to get the third ship to be something that's good and cheap so that I can beef up Vader. So my opinion is to get passive sensors on, passive sensors is so good, especially if you're going to 200. I think it's like mandatory if you're going to 200 with Vader. It just is so effective at providing last chance of maneuverability. You know,
they really got a variable price passive sensors by initiative value, right?
Yeah.
Just to it's just so good on Vader that they really, I think they need to. But continue.
I'm kind of okay with him because it's really only really good on Vader. It's like good on other ships, but it's very good on Vader, and I'm kind of just okay with that. It's Darth Vader.
Yeah, that's fair,
right? Like, I actually don't know if Vader would be really good in the current meta right now without passive sensors. Like, he's still a good ship, but like not S tier. without passive sensors, because there's so many PS6 real killers out there right now.
I fully agree. Passive sensors are bust.
Yeah. So I the way that I would feel about it is I actually would load up an Inquisitor with I don't know, let's say Foresight and FCS. And then that allows me to, with the extra points, I'm able to put Afterburners on Vader as well. And now you're looking at like a really dangerous Vader. You've got Rexler Barath doing defender things, being a defender.
Right, because you don't really need any upgrades on there, right? It's just go forth and be a defender.
Exactly. He's an I5 defender. Like you figure that out, because I don't have to. And now you've got this kind of area control Inquisitor that is really tough to kill. And if you ignore it, it's going to continue to plink 2 dice away at you. And if you try to kill it, well, good luck, because it's going to be force evade every turn.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's really great for you to set up your other ships.
Awesome. Well, Xification, hopefully you got a lot there. You got 2 different versions of the list. I love it. Absolutely love it. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for joining us today, man. I had a ton of fun. We don't kill me. We don't got time. Do you have one ready to go, locked and loaded?
Yeah.
You ready? Okay. All right. Never mind. Yeah. Anybody who turned off the podcast before we got there is missing this moment.
A gem.
They've
and
lost.
The brilliance of my modification to this list is that I am keeping all 3 names on it.
Oh, this is a rarity for the Marcel Manzano.
Oh yeah. Okay. I think you made the rule of only 1 ship away, because I kept on saying, take this out, 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 and building my own list from scratch.
I did. You're right. Okay, so go ahead. So we're keeping all 3 names?
So we are keeping all 3 names. So all that Marique Steel hate, we're not having it over here. So let me see what you've got.
So right now, there's just 2 fire control systems. So for people who are listening at home, because you're not watching, just a reminder, the original list has Darth Vader with FCS, Merrick Steele with FCS, and Rexler Barath with nothing at 198 points.
Yeah.
Didn't Marcel say he was locked and loaded?
I am locked and loaded. So we will keep Vader, but let's delete the ship. We're going to keep Vader as a crew.
Hey,
okay. It's still Vader. If you want Vader, we're going to give him Vader.
Okay.
I didn't say Vader in one form, but he's going to keep his Vader.
Okay.
So add a Lambda, add Colonel Jendon, because, well, as Will said, Marick Steele just trying to be there without anything else, just trying to survive on that 3 agility is just not enough. So you're going to, it's a Lambda shuttle, Colonel Jendon with Darth Vader crew, and the ST-321 title.
Okay.
And then the remaining 7 points, you're going to put them on Rexler Barath as a juke. And basically, the way I saw what he was trying to do with this list is he's trying to put together, he's trying to figure out which crit he wants to deal on someone, and then have Rexler go and flip it up again and again. If it's Panic Pilot and put 4 stress on someone, or if it's double damage and just do 4 damage with two shots, you have that ability to do that. And what makes Jendon work, obviously, is he gives Marick Steele the target lock early on, so he can focus up for defense and just really take advantage of having that double action or that target lock already set up.
Mm-hmm.
Juke with the Rexler is just, obviously, Rexler wants to be evaded when he's shooting so he can get the crit. So he wants to be also evaded when he's shooting with the juke. So that plays in. And then Darth Vader is actually plays into that as well, because he's stripping tokens so that Rexler can go ahead and shoot an untokened ship. So they all play off each other there. And then again, the ST-321 being able to give Colonel Jendon a modification, so he can, if Marick Steele ends up either having to shoot a different ship that he target locked early, he can get coordinated target lock and then still have double action. So I actually think this list is it could be pretty solid. Just because it plays off each other, and having 2 5s and a coordinating ship is pretty solid. So there you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for watching and thank you for listening. Like I was saying, Stephen, thank you so much for joining us, man. I know you had hit me up earlier like, Dion, when you gonna have me on the show? I'm like, I just need a minute. Bam! I did it. Are you proud of me, Stephen?
Oh, I'm very proud of you.
Oh, yay.
So now the next question is when you're gonna have me back on.
Oh, in a time one day, sometime before X-Wing dies. Oh, that got sad. All right. And dark. Anyway, what I wanted to end with here, because X-Wing is well and alive. We got a ton of events that we are covering, guys. Upcoming here. Events that Gold Squadron is covering. We have, of course, this weekend we talked about the Grand Championship at St. Louis. I know there's a couple people who I convinced to go. They're like, I'm not I'm not sure if I'm going to go. And people are like, all right, let's make it happen. Then the weekend of the 23rd is the PTL Open, if you can get yourself to Canada. But if you can't and you're close to Iowa or can make it to Iowa, there's a turkey shootout, the Toys for Tots event. There is no cost for being as a part of the event. You just have to bring something for Toys for Tots. Now, Will, you were the champion of the Toys for Tots event last year, right?
Oh, no, I was just the runner-up.
Oh, it's just the runner-up. Sorry, I forgot. We had a scrub here.
I was just the runner-up on it.
Can you give us the rules for that real quick?
Yes. So you bring a 64-point ship, okay, and your standard 3 obstacles. If we're matched up in round 1, me and you are going to play best of 3. 20 or 25 minutes. I think it's 25, but because that would still equal a whole 75-minute round. So I believe it's 25 minutes. We set up the asteroids. The asteroids stay for the whole game, for all 3 of the games, and then we fight our ships 64 and 64. But there's a new rule this year, and if I'm flying. If you got Duchess, you're a bold man and you're flying Duchess out there, and I'm flying Rick Olay, if you are outbidding me, okay, you get the option of the first player, the first game, but the second game it would actually flip, so that now the first and second player would be reversed, so Rick would have to move before or whatever. I forget the example was going, but
so the initiative passes. So if you bid,
exactly.
You're not going to get it 3 out of the 3 times. You get it 2 out of the 3 times.
Correct. The tiebreaker game will go back to the original bid decision there. So I think that's going to spice up a lot of what I expect. There's going to be a lot of 5s. There's going to be in the form at 64 points. It's the perfect amount to put in a lot of really good 5s. And so it's going to more or less even that out, I think. So just like if you know, I'm at 64 and you're at 63, it's not kind of an automatic wipe when it's one-on-one. The other thing is that nothing's restricted except for large bases. Apparently, Scum Han's too cool for this particular format, which I think him and Dengar would actually be very, very good one-on-one.
Oh, yeah, because you get somebody who can shoot twice. You get like 5 dice from the Scum Han. Yeah, that'd be a little ridiculous.
Yeah. But medium bases are cool. Arcs are good. Things like that. Punishers, excuse me. Still viable. Yeah, then it's best of 3. Got to bring your please bring in donation. You don't got to, but please bring in donation for Toys for Tots. And Brad, who's been running it, friend of the show. and podcast group in general. He has been collecting a lot of prizes. They got a bunch of stuff from Worlds, a bunch of stuff from the regional season. So in addition to like, just regular Star Wars donations and stuff like that. So should be a great event. And we're hoping to, it's the 3rd annual. So Brad's hoping to get more and more numbers in there. It's always been a success. So hoping to continue.
Awesome. Yeah. I think the plan is I'm going to, not this weekend because I'm going to St. Louis, but next weekend I kind of want to do like a live stream from a store where we buy stuff for Toys for Tots for the event.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that could be fun. Let me know in the chat if you think that sounds like fun. But I want to get some cool stuff for Toys for Tots. I'm actually going to play in this event. We are going to be streaming it as well, but I have to figure out how I want to stream it because this is a very different format than usual. Obviously, it's one ship on one ship. I have some ideas. We'll see.
Okay. Well, it still ends up being about, like I said, roughly like hour to 75-minute rounds anyways. So the pacing should be the similar.
Absolutely. Now, if you ever want to see what events we have coming up, you can type in our Twitch chat !events, and that'll bring you to actually this sheet that you see right here. Everything that's going on for Gold Squadron when it comes to events is posted in there. You see some blackout dates, for instance, like Christmas and winter break. I'm going to be with my family, but if you have an event that you want us to cover, the very first thing you should do is go ahead, take a look here before you you contact me and say, all right, hey Dion, I noticed you have this week open, and then we can talk to see if we can figure out if we can make something happen. Well, thank you everybody who's watching. Wow, I'm so good at the English. Who's watched tonight, and everybody who's listening on your ride home. Maybe going to work right now, wherever you are in the world. You could have been doing anything else, but you decided to listen to Gold Squadron Podcast, and we appreciate you. Thanks for listening. Gold Squadron out.